Welcome back, traders. Second portion of our show. Well, they busted it through that 1268 level during that jobless claims number. Took out some major resistance there, Dennis. This market just seems to want to go up.
Yeah, path of least resistance continues to be higher. Obviously we talked about like a week and a half ago there on that Friday, and then we had the gap up Monday day. Everybody was caught short or they dumped their longs. There's really, the sentiment out there is so bearish that you almost, we have to go higher until the sentiment starts to get better. It always goes opposite to what everybody thinks, and this is exactly what's happening. Everybody thinks, that the market, there's trouble still over in Europe that aren't going to get solved. And so everybody's, not long enough, and every pullback keeps finding buyers, Joel.
Yeah, I was listening to CNBC yesterday, and Steve Leisman did his little, get a feel of America and how investors are feeling, and just the sentiment of, no confidence in the market and the high volatility and the bearishness of the American public. I was like, oh, my God, if that's not a buy signal, I don't know what is. Being a fundamental, contrarian, technical analyst that I am, I thought that was a pretty strong buy signal. But
it really
anyways,
is, Joel, when you hear that.
when you hear the public's, when I hear the public's bearish, that almost makes me really bullish. But anyways, we got some market movers besides Apple this morning, Dennis. What do you got on the radar?
Mickey D's same-store sales for November were very good. Stock is trading 98.24 right now after closing 96.45. New all-time highs for Ronald McDonald. You just can't keep that guy down at all. The path of least resistance definitely higher on that one. We're at 98.24. $100 is absolutely huge psychologically, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing some major sellers up there as well, just because it's such a easy whole number to talk about. But what do you think on McDonald's overall, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, this stock, traded 98.26 in the pre-market. I mean, that's the high. It's up a couple bucks. Just one thing, just a little, word of caution in Mickey D's. I mean, I've had seen this stock, have a gap open like this, open higher, and then boom, sell off, have a vicious sell off or whatever. You don't know where it's going to stop, even if it gets to yesterday's high. And all of a sudden you turn around and it's back up on the day. So, I'd have a hard time buying into this open thinking it's going to $100.
We got EQT Corporation, which is symbol EQT. They're going to form an MLP, which is another company, basically another corporate and legal entity in natural gas transmission. So stock's getting a pop on that. Closed 58.16 after $60 right now. So EQT is going to open quite a bit higher. Best offer is up at 61.67, so the spread's pretty wide, so it's hard to really gauge where specifically this is going to open. It's kind of a thin stock as well, Joel. There's major resistance up at 65. That's $5 away, so I don't think they're going to press it that high. And I'm just looking, the $60 overall, we did top out there back in September. We had a small bottom around there. You could say this could be a decent swing number. I wouldn't really say it's, a good resistance or support area, but maybe a decent swing number. What do you think, Joel?
Well, it made a 60.26 high yesterday, Dennis, and then kind of sold off during the day. So maybe the guys that got the news early misinterpreted it and sold instead of bought. But 60.26 is a relevant number here, Dennis. It's traded around there in the pre-market. In fact, it hasn't got to that level. It's been topping out at 60 in the pre-market. So I'd be careful stepping into this on the long side between 60 and 60.26. On the other hand, if it can bust through there, I'm looking at the 2-day high at 61.36. I mean, this is kind of like a escalator chart, kind of goes up and down, but you'll find good support at the close as well as yesterday's low.
Affimax, AFFY, FDA panel comes out, backs their anemia drug. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation on this one. Peginacistide. Why can't they make these drugs' names simpler? They just throw a bunch of letters together and call it a name, Joel. It's always the way when we're trying to talk about drugs. You can't pronounce any of these things. Like, why not call it Peggy or something, like Penegesticide or Penestatide. Anyways, I can't pronounce that drug. That's what it is. Stock's popping up 27% on that news. 750 is where we topped out back in June, exactly at 750. We've cut through there back in July, but I wonder if that 750 number could come into play just because it was that old high back in June. 850 is the 52-week high on this. So if this thing really starts to get some legs, that's where, $8 he also topped out in July as well, so you can get some numbers there too. So so it looks like $7.50, $8, $8.50 is what I would call your three major resistance areas, Joel.
Yeah, you're really stepping out there, Dennis. I mean, these stocks, you don't know if it's, buy the rumor and sell the news or buy the news and buy the rumor. I mean, it's really hard to gauge these kind of things. I mean, when you get into this kind of, parabolic move for a stock that was trading at, 450 back in October, obviously if you're long, you would like to take some off. I mean, they got a favorable thing, but it's not approved, and you don't know. I mean, someone could drop dead from the drug tomorrow, and the stock's back at $4. But technically speaking, we hit 838 in the pre-market, Dennis. We also have topped out at that $8 we hit in July. So use those as levels of resistance. Right now, funny you mentioned that 750 number because there's a lot of consolidation here. I mean, this thing could get a pretty good bounce between 7 and 750. On the other hand, if this is really good news, I expect them to go up and test that pre-market high of 838.
More good news for G3 Apparel Group, which is GIII. Stock is trading up 18% right now after their earnings report. Closed at 20.36. It's now trading 24.21. Coming dangerously close to this $25 resistance area. We topped out there a couple of times in September. We bottomed out there in October. We sliced through there like a hot knife through butter in November, but we did that on a lot of stocks. So this is also a key number because we came from $30. We went all the way down to 17. Now you start coming back in this 25. It's a little over the 50% retracement, but it's a pretty good retrace, over half of what that initial sell-off was. So I've got to think, on a retailer like this, when it pops $4, it's going to find some sellers, Joel. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, G3 Apparel, do you know what, is that a store, or I don't mean to throw you under the bus here, but what the hell do they sell that they would have such a,
It's a clothing store, so clothing and accessories, so, I'm not sure if they're the supplier or if they're an actual retail outlet, but it's clothing and accessories is what industry they're in, so.
I guess if it was GQ, then I could be asking you, but since it's G3, you wouldn't know. Topped out in the pre-market, Dennis. That's really the only level I can give you. It topped out at 24.92. Seemed to be running in some sellers there. 24.75 up to 24.92. That 25 level. If I absolutely had to trade this thin little bugger, I would try and short it up in that area and then, hopefully let it come in. If it breaks above 25 though, your call is as good as mine. Perhaps 26.07, which was the high back in July this year.
Yeah, I think that 25 number is going to be the key number because it looks like the pre-market highs are even going to coincide with that. So expect major resistance in the upper 24s on this one, folks. Smithfield Foods, SFD, having earnings here this morning. Pretty decent. Stock is not have much of a market, though. It's only had one trade at 25.25. Interesting enough, I see some size in the book there. Not sure if it's real at 25.25, but I see 50,000 shares, which would be significant for this stock. So keep an eye on that 25.25 level. I know the 52-week high is 25.10. Obviously, that gives you a little bit of resistance, but it looks like there could be some pretty decent resistance up at 25.25. So keep that level in mind, too, Joel. What do you think on Smithfield Foods?
Same thing, Dennis, topped out at 25.10 in the pre-market here. 25.10 is the two-day high. Looking at the pre-market activity, we haven't been able to we got to 25.25. So I expect resistance into that area, 25.10 up to 25.25.
Wow, this market, we should just stop and talk about it for a second. While we've been doing this show, we started doing the show, we were up 6, we're down 4 now. We just sold off $10. I didn't see any news go across, though, Joel. Did you see any news go across?
Yeah,
CNBC didn't say anything.
You know what the news was?
Did they?
I know. I
What was
can
the
tell you.
news?
I can tell you what the news was.
Okay, tell me what the news.
Traders are listening to us on pre-market info, and they heard me and you just get wildly bullish and talk about
They want to sell it off.
nothing's stopping this market. So they're like, okay, we're going to show those guys on pre-market, and they just hit the sell button to make us look bad. That's what happened.
Man,
But that's
we
this
couldn't
market,
be more
man.
wrong on that one. We were starting to just get bullish there, and boom, 10-point sell-off on no news. Fade our calls, folks. Usually,
right.
that's why we just provide support resistance areas. You trade the ranges. So that's crazy sell-off, though. For no news, CNBC's dropping the ball on this one if there is news, because nothing's come across, and we are chopping around pretty good here. So maybe, on that jobless claims that just came out there, maybe initially, they liked it. Maybe they're seeing something they don't like. I'm not sure. But stocks are definitely getting weaker here. Just to close with one more stock here, I'll give you TSLA, which is Tesla Motors. Stock is trading down 31.40 right now after closing at 34.19.
Yeah.
So this stock is very weak. What do you think on levels for TSLA, Joel?
Boy, I tell you, I sure found a lot of support in this 31 area, going back to just before Thanksgiving here, 31.05. We're opening up into that area, just a bunch of lows in that area, so maybe some shorts are starting to bring it in through there. If this 31 cannot hold, minor support at the 30.60 level, but we could see 30.30 on this stock. Just to get a quick look at this in the pre-market. We have bottomed out at 31.11, which coincides. But here's another stock that they don't make any money, do they, right? Dennis, am I correct?
Tesla Motors, no, I think Tesla Motors makes money. I'm not sure what the
selling that new
reports
kind
were.
of car. I don't know if they've shown a profit yet, have they?
I'm not sure. I always thought that they maybe they don't actually. Now when I'm looking at, I look at the PE multiple, I don't have one, so that would indicate that stock doesn't make money. So Joel, you know more about this than I do, so we'll go with your call. Maybe they don't make money.
Yeah, they got a P, but they got no E. Okay, folks, that's our show for today. Remember, we got December, March rollover. You get some crazy things going on in the market then, as exhibited the activity in the last half hour. That's our show for today, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.